Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finance with Anthony. So, today we're going to be looking into different types of employer accounts that you can get while you're working as a full time employee. Should I get FSA and how much to put in it? I just got my first job and I'm seeing that they offer Navia FSA. From what I'm hearing, it takes out your taxable income, so it is a benefit. Currently, I make $22 an hour. My gross income is roughly $1,630, but taxes being roughly $150 makes it roughly $1,490 semi-monthly. I am 23F and have no physical medical issues. I buy my contact lenses and glasses in Asia. I use prescriptions and anti-acne products. I might go back to therapy, but back when I was in Medicaid, my prescriptions were covered and acne products do not cost much. Considering how low I make in the first place, I'm not sure if I should sign up for FSA and rather how much I should put into it. So just to define this for everyone, so a FSA is a flex spending account, and this is a type of account that usually you get when you don't have a high deductible, plan. So basically, this is a plan that effectively your deductible might be low, which basically just means how much you have to pay out of pocket first before your plan starts covering you. That's effectively what a deductible is. Now, the thing about FSAs is that they're very strict about how long you can keep the money in the account. So what I mean by that is that if in a certain year, let's say you have start putting into your FSA account from January to December, usually you only get like a month or two after the year to spend everything that's in that flexible spending account, or that flex spending account. So you have to be very careful how much you put into this account. I know it might seem like a juicy benefit to actually put money into this account, but really you need to think about, what are you actually going to buy with that? Are you going to buy medicine? Are you going to buy like Band-Aids, maybe contacts? Like a few medical supplies, you can do that, but what most people end up doing is that they put like $2,000 or $3,000 into these FSAs, and then they're at the end of the year rushing to kind of spend this money, because it's basically you use it or lose it. So essentially, I would say you have to be very careful about putting too much money into an FSA, and only put the amount that you roughly will be spending throughout the year. So if you feel like you're not going to be spending much, then don't put much into it. Maybe put $200 to $500, and then that maybe will cover most of your expenses. Or if you feel like you're not really going to spend much at all, then don't put anything in it. That's my honest advice here. Especially from what I've seen for many FSAs, that most people end up just scrambling to kind of try to spend at the end of the year. Alrighty, so let's move on to the next question. Details on how to take money out of a 401k and retirement account. I see lots of posts on how to fund and transfer and all sorts of things related to 401ks and retirement accounts. Now I'm only 30 and not close to retirement, and I'm funding my 401k. But there are any vids that explain what to do when you get to the retirement age? Like I know you need to be 59 or 60 to pull out money out of tax-free of a 401k, but how does one go about that? What are the nuances? Do you take money from it and just transfer it out of a bank account? How much? Hello, sorry, lots of questions and just don't want to be ignorant about this. So let's dive right into this one. So 401ks are retirement savings accounts that usually are set up by the employer. You can actually contribute pre-tax dollars into this or post-tax dollars, depending on what kind of 401k you want to do. If you do it pre-tax dollars, then actually when you actually start taking money out of the account, the only thing that's not taxable are the amounts that you actually contributed into it. So anything that was gained afterwards, you actually have to pay taxes on that. So essentially, if you contributed, like, let's say, I don't know, $1,000, but it increased to $4,000, those extra $3,000 that you gained, you actually have to pay taxes on those. So those are effectively putting funds pre-tax. Now, if you put it post-tax, you don't pay any money on any of the gains. So essentially, if you put in $1,000, and then at the end, let's say it's not worth $4,000, you actually don't pay any taxes at all when you draw all of it. Usually 401ks have a limit, depending on like your, what age you retire, of how much you can take out per year. So essentially it's good to look at the, your state's guidelines. So essentially, when you're pulling money out of your 401k, you have to be very careful of, the age that you're going to be pulling it out from. Usually it's 59 and a half usually when you get to start pulling out money from there. And you're going to be taking it out in certain stages, certain amounts. So I would say most people, they tend to say, okay, I want like $1 million at the end of my my retirement. That's like their goal, and then they'll take out like $50,000 per year until essentially they're through their retirement. Let's say 20 years. So it's important to really estimate roughly how long you're going to be living, and then have a fund that's sufficient to meet your future lifestyle. Now, the differences between the two in terms of like pre-tax and post-tax could be very simple. If you feel like you're going to pay more taxes now than in the future, then you do it pre-tax. But if you feel like you're paying more taxes in the future than you pay now, you do it post-tax. So yeah, these are all the guidelines for a 401k, and hopefully this helped you a little bit out, while you continue to do your research. So let's move on to the next question. Roll over old employer's simple IRA to new employer's 401k or personal Roth IRA. I have a simple IRA for my previous company, and I'm looking to roll it over to one of my other existing accounts. Is it better to roll it into a new employer's 401k or into my personal Roth IRA? I'm only 30 and like the idea of getting it into my Roth so it grows tax-free, but I say I pay a lot of taxes now. Thoughts? So, I would say in most cases, it all depends on what you're thinking. I would say most people prefer to do the Roth IRAs. Usually they're more tax advantage, as I mentioned, especially if you're going to make some big investments. The good thing about Roth IRA is that, especially if they're a self-directed IRA, so essentially you're the one managing this entire, individual retirement account, then that makes it a lot more easier for you to use it as a tool to invest. So actually, many people use these Roth IRAs to invest in like stocks and bonds, but many people don't realize that these Roth IRAs can also be used to actually invest in real estate. So essentially, you could actually use the Roth IRA to invest in real estate and then grow it within your Roth IRA. So essentially, you could go out and buy a property within your Roth IRA and then actually make it grow tax-free. So that anything that's purchased with the Roth IRA will usually be tax-free, even on the item that, on the income that grows from it. So I would say definitely think about your tax goals and, especially long-term, before you think about like moving it from a Roth IRA to a 401k. Because 401ks, not that they don't have their own tax advantage as well, but a self-directed IRA will give you a lot more flexibility on what you can spend it on. So hopefully that helps a little bit, and yeah, let's dive right into the next question.
Hello everyone, my name is Anthony and I'm the host of TheLostSanctuary. I hope you've been enjoying our content so far, and if you have, please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, we have our website up here, and we also have some socials down here. And as always, leave your comments down below.
Self-managed HSA transfer considerations. What do I need to consider or be careful about if I transfer from an Optum HSA to a Fidelity HSA? I have an Optum HSA that was opened through an employer, but they are now managed that I now manage myself because my new employer does not offer an HSA. It looks like Fidelity is a better HSA than Optum according to Morningstar, and I don't like the monthly investments fee Optum is charging me. So, what's funny enough is that it's actually not that difficult to actually get an HSA or a health savings account transferred. And just to give everyone a little bit definition of what a health savings account is, a health savings account or an HSA is basically something that you can only get if you have something called a high deductible plan. So deductible, as I mentioned before, is something that you pay out of pocket first when you have a insurance policy with your employer, and then anything after that is covered by the insurance in most cases. So when you have a high deductible savings account, high deductible plan, you're eligible to get an HSA, and then you can effectively put funds into it pre-tax, up to a certain amount per year. There's usually limits every year on how much you can put into it. Yeah, so there's a limit to how much you can put into it every year, tax-free. So yeah, make sure that you're not putting too much into it, because that could also impact any like Roth IRAs, which we were talking about before, because there's like limited for how much tax-free income you can put into stuff. So now, HSAs. It's very easy. You just need usually it's like the last bank statement from, let's say, Optum in this case, and then you would give that to Fidelity, and then they'll make the transfer for you. Usually they'll put the process of like going after the other bank, putting into your bank. And the great thing about HSA, which I would like just to give extra information on, is that once it reaches a certain amount, you can actually start investing with it. So the reason Fidelity is usually a little bit better in terms of like having it there is because there's a lot more options on what you can invest in. So there's things like REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, which basically means you own like a piece of real estate and it generates income for you, like dividends and things like that. There's index funds. There's a lot of great things on Fidelity that you can invest in. So definitely a great tool, which I use myself. So yeah, definitely I recommend just doing the transfer. And then once you reach the 2,000 limit, the 2K, you can actually start investing your HSAs as well. And the great thing is, it's not only it's like triple tax deduction. You get it pre-tax. Basically, you the funds that go in there are pre-tax. The things that grow into it are not charged any tax. And then when you pull out of it, also you're not charged tax. So essentially, it's one of the few things out there that you won't be charged tax at all if you invest in it. So it's very important to definitely capitalize as much as you can on your HSAs. because there's usually a cap of like 3 to 4 thousand, I think, roughly a year that you can put into it. And yeah, but if you can invest it, it's great. You'll be generating effectively triple tax income for free. So that's everything on there, and yeah, kudos to you, and hopefully everything goes your way for this one. So this is the bonus. This is actually a bonus question which I wanted to get addressed, which is, how do I get self-control with spending? I always set myself a budget, but then I say things like, oh, spending a little more won't hurt. Then I'm spending all my money. I've been wanting to save up for a new guitar and phone, but I always end up spending everything. I'm 15, I don't have a job, so I only get money on holidays or my birthday. So while waiting for the next holiday to get more money, I end up thinking, I'll never reach my goal, since it's going to take me longer since I don't work. So I just end up spending it, and I don't know how to get out of this loop. I've been doing it since I can remember having money. So I would say this is a very important thing that overall it's a little difficult to get out of, like, hey, spending habits, but I think what's going to be important is for you to see if there's a way for you to get the money away from you. What many people do in these cases is, if you can create a custodial account with your parents, you might be able to actually start using something called a CD, or certificate of deposit. A certificate of deposit actually allows you to freeze a certain amount of money for a time period, sometimes 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, 40 months, 60 months. Usually the longer you have it, the more interest you'll get. So these are great tools for you to set aside money and keep it out of sight, out of mind. So this actually does help you build up spending habits, because you can actually see your savings grow and you effectively not touch it. I think it's important to actually start to discipline yourself by effectively having yourself have less money in the moment, so that way you can spend less. So hopefully this helps a little bit. And yeah, I want to thank everyone for joining me for Finance with Anthony episode 4, and I hope everyone has a blessed day. Adios.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm wishing everyone out there all the best. All right, until next time, adios.